Welcome back. In the last video, we established our complete development foundation by configuring LCS, Azure DevOps, and a local development VM. Now, we'll begin building our first customization, which aims to help identify top customers by adding a new customer tier field to the main customer screen. This is the foundational first step for the entire customer tiering system. First, let's open the Finance and Operations application in our environment. When the application opens, you'll notice that we're currently in the DAT company. This is a blank company used primarily for initial setup and testing, and it doesn't contain any sample data. To make our demonstration more meaningful, we'll switch to the USMF legal entity, which includes demo customers we can work with. To do this, click on the company selector located at the top right corner of the screen. From the drop-down list, scroll down and select USMF. Once the page loads, we'll bookmark this environment for quick access in the future. Simply click the star icon in the browser and then select Done to save the bookmark. Now, let's navigate to the customer form to see exactly where we'll be adding our new field. In the search bar at the top, type All Customers and then select the All Customers option under the Accounts Receivable module. Once the list page opens, we can select any customer record. For example, US001. This opens the customer form. Our plan is to add the new field under the General tab, where it will appear alongside the customer's core details. Now we'll move over to Visual Studio. It's already pre-installed on the BHD, so you can simply type Visual Studio in the Windows search bar and click to open it. The first time we launch it, we'll be prompted to sign in. While you do have the option to skip this step, it's better to sign in now so that later, when we connect to Azure DevOps, we won't have to repeat the process. Click on Sign in with Microsoft, and in the Sign in window, select a work account. This should be the same account used while configuring the VHD. Enter your email address, then your password, and approve the sign-in request. You will see a message asking, automatically sign in to all desktop apps and websites on this device. You can choose to share credentials across apps, but for this setup, we'll select No, this app only. In the development settings, I will leave it as General and click Start Visual Studio. Once it launches, you'll see the Get Started pane. Since we're starting fresh, we will click Continue without code, and now we're inside Visual Studio, ready to begin our development work. Before we start customizing, we need a logical container that defines the scope of our development work. In Dynamics 365, this container is called a model. It's essentially a package that groups all related elements like tables, forms, and code, so they stay organized and can be deployed together. Alright, so up here in the top menu, let's click on Extensions, then go down to Dynamics 365, expand Model Management, and finally click on Create Model. Okay, so the Create Model window pops up. For the model name, let's go with BIC Customer Management. Now, just a quick note about the naming convention here. Generally, it's a good idea to prefix your model name with your company abbreviation or project code. In our case, BIC stands for Bluestone Industrial Components. This makes it super easy to identify which customizations belong to which client, especially if you're working on multiple projects later. The publisher field can be your company name, or if you're doing this solo, just put your own name. I'll just add mine here. We can leave the layer as USR. Just to explain what that means, layers in Dynamics 365 are basically levels that separate different kinds of code or customizations. So, Microsoft's own core code sits in the lower layers, and as partners or customers, we build our changes on top of those in higher layers. USR specifically is the layer meant for customer and partner customizations, meaning anything we build here won't interfere with Microsoft's standard application code. Then we'll give it a short description, something simple like customizations related to customer and sales domain, and once that's done, click Next. Now, here in the Select Package section, you'll notice there are two options. Create New Package and Select Existing Package. We'll stick with Create New Package because this is our very first customization for this client. Creating a new package keeps everything isolated and organized instead of mixing it into an existing one, which is definitely a best practice, especially in larger projects. Alright, so we'll go ahead and click Next. Now, this opens up the Select Reference Packages window, and here you can see a full list of all the standard packages available in Dynamics 365. These packages basically define different layers or functional areas of the application, like Application Platform handles the core framework stuff, Application Foundation adds common business logic, and Application Suite includes the higher-level modules like Finance and Sales. By default, Application Platform is already selected, but we'll also select Application Foundation and Application Suite since those contain most of the components we'll need when working with customer data. Now, the reason for that, these two packages contain most of the core elements we would probably need, like tables, forms, and business logic for standard modules such as customers and sales. So, referencing them here helps prevent errors later when we start extending those standard objects. So, after selecting the reference packages, we can go ahead and click Next again. On the summary page, just take a quick moment to review everything. Make sure the name, publisher, and selected packages look right. Make sure you leave the Create New Project option checked. This way, as soon as the model is created, Visual Studio will automatically open up a new project window for us. Finally, click Next to finish. So now, the Configure Your New Project window pops up. I'll give the project a name. Let's call it BIC Alerting. For the solution name, I'll enter BIC Tiering and Alert Solution. Now, just to quickly explain how all these pieces fit together, in Dynamics 365 development, a model is like the top-level container that holds everything related to a specific customization area. Inside that model, you have one or more solutions, which are basically logical groupings of related projects. And within each solution, you'll have individual projects which contain the actual objects, like tables, forms, and classes that you build or extend. So you can think of it kind of like a hierarchy where the model sits at the top. Inside that, we have a solution, and within that solution, we build our projects. Keeping this structure consistent makes your code base much easier to manage, especially when you start deploying or collaborating through DevOps later on. Next, I'll browse to the Documents folder and create a new folder to keep everything organized. I will name it BIC Dynamics 365, and inside that, I'll create another folder called Main. This will serve as our main branch directory, since later we might have multiple branches for different releases. Inside that main folder, I'll add one more folder called BIC Customer Tiering Management. Now, I'll just copy this full folder path from File Explorer and paste it into the Configure Your New Project window. If you look at the bottom, you can see how Visual Studio lays this out. The project will sit inside the management folder under the solution, and inside that, the alerting project will live. Basically, the idea is to keep everything neat and modular. One deployable package, which is tied to a model, can contain multiple projects, and each project can be part of a solution in Visual Studio. Once everything looks good, click Create to finish setting it up. Great. So at this point, we've got both the model and the project created. Before jumping into development, let me quickly walk you through Visual Studio so you know what you're looking at. On the right side, you'll see the Solution Explorer. This is where all your active projects live. Here, we have our BIC alerting project, and you can also see it's linked to the BIC Customer Management model. Think of this as your workspace. It only shows the projects and files that belong to your current solution. Now, let's also open the Application Explorer. To do that, go up to the top menu, click on View, and then select Application Explorer. Over here on the left, you can see a much larger tree. This is the AOT or Application Object Tree. It contains everything available in the entire application, all the standard objects from Microsoft, plus any extensions or customizations we have added. So, to put it simply, the Solution Explorer shows only what you're working on in your project, while the Application Explorer gives you access to everything in the environment. Now, before we start, there's a small setup tweak that will help keep things organized. By default, when you add a new table, class, or form, it just drops into the project root, which can get messy. So we'll enable an option that automatically groups those elements by type, just like how the Application Explorer is structured. To do that, go up to the Extensions menu, open Dynamics 365, and then select Options. That opens the Options pane. Inside that, click on Projects and check the box that says Organize Projects by Element Type. Finally, click OK to save the changes. Alright, let's start with the development. The first thing we'll do is create a label file. A label file allows us to use labels instead of hard-coded text. That means instead of typing text directly into forms or messages, we use label IDs that point to stored text values. So, why does that matter? Well, imagine if tomorrow you had to rename a field or translate your entire application into another language. Updating every piece of text manually would take forever. But with labels, you just update the text once in the label file and it automatically changes everywhere that label is used. It keeps things clean, consistent, and ready for multi-language support right from the start. Alright, let's go ahead and create it. In the Solution Explorer, right-click on your project, then choose Add and select New Item. This will open the Add New Item window. From the list on the left, click on Dynamics 365 Items and then select Labels and Resources. In the middle section, you'll see the option called Label File. Go ahead and select that. At the bottom, type a name for your file. I'll call it BICLabels. Once you've done that, click on the Add button. That will open the Label File wizard. On the first screen, you'll notice the Label File ID. We'll leave that as it is and then click Next. Now, here you can choose which languages you want to include. For this project, I will keep it simple and just leave it as English. Then click Next again. On the summary screen, review the details and then click Next one last time. Great, you can now see that the label file has been created. It's listed under the Label Files node in your project. To open it, just double-click on the file name. Inside the label editor, you'll see three main columns: label ID, label, and description. Here's a quick breakdown of what they mean. The label ID is a unique reference. This is what you'll actually use in your code or forms when you want to display that text. The label is the actual text that the user sees, for example, customer tier. And the description is optional, but it's a good place to explain what that label is used for. Next, to create the drop-down list of choices for our new field, we'll use something called a base enumeration or simply enum. Now, if this is your first time hearing about enums, let's understand what they are and why we use them. It's perfect for cases where you have a fixed set of values that don't change often, such as silver, gold, or platinum. Using enums keeps the data consistent since users can only pick from these defined choices instead of typing free text. So in our case, we'll use an enum to represent the customer tier levels. Alright, let's create it. Just like before, right-click on your project, select Add, and then choose New Item. This opens the same Add New Item window. From the list on the left, click on Data Types. In the middle section, choose Base Enum, and at the bottom, give it a name. We'll call it BICLabels. After that, click Add. You'll see the new enum appear under your project in the Solution Explorer. Let's right-click on it and select New Element to add our first item. But before we modify those elements, let's create the labels that we will use for them. We can open the BICLabels file that we created earlier. Here, we'll add 4 new labels, one for each customer tier. The first one will be None, which is the default value, meaning no special tier is assigned. Then we'll add Silver, Gold, and Platinum, representing the 3 levels of our customer tiers. You can see them here. Each label has a clear name, a user-facing text, and a short description to make it easy to identify later. Alright, now that our labels are ready, let's go back to our enum. Inside the enum, right-click again and choose New Element. We will keep repeating the same step until all 4 elements are created, one each for None, Silver, Gold, and Platinum. Next, we will configure each element. Select the first element and open the Properties window. Under the name property, we'll enter None. Accordingly, we'll select and update the other elements, giving them their corresponding values, Silver, Gold, and Platinum. Once that's done, we'll link each element to its label. Under the Appearance section in the Properties pane, find the Label field and click on the small button with 3 dots. This opens the label lookup wizard. In the search box, type the word None. Now, when you scroll down, you can find the label you created earlier, BICLabels None. Select it and click Paste Label. This automatically adds the label reference into the field as BICLabels, BICLabels None. So, here's how this works. The @ symbol tells the system that this text comes from a label file, and everything after it is the specific label ID. This makes the enum element display the correct label text at runtime. We'll repeat this exact process for the remaining elements, linking Silver, Gold, and Platinum to their respective label IDs. Once all 4 are connected, our enum is complete. So right now we have defined a field. Now we need to add this particular field to some table, which in this case will be our customer table in the database. So in our Application Explorer, under the AOT node, we will expand the data model. Here, you will find the Tables node, which contains all of our table. However, to save the time, we can just type it and filter it in the search bar. So we can just type CustTable with type equals table and hit enter. You can see our CustTable table has already appeared under the Tables node. So let's select the table and then right-click on it and click on Create Extension. An extension is basically a safe way to add new functionality to an existing object, like a table or a form, without directly changing the original code. This means your changes stay separate from the standard application, so they won't get overwritten when the system is updated. In other words, instead of editing the core table, we are attaching our new field through an extension, keeping everything upgrade-friendly and easy to maintain. In the Solution Explorer, you can see a table extension has been added, so we can double-click on it to open it. Here, we can expand the Fields node. Then we will drag and drop our base enum from the Solution Explorer to the Fields icon. We can see the field has been added here. So for now, the field exists in the backend table, but it isn't visible on any screen. That means we won't be able to see it from the front end. However, if we query the database, we will find it there in the table. To display it, we need to extend the customer form. So in the Application Explorer, we can simply replace type equals table with type equals form, since the form name and the table name are the same. Finally, hit enter. We can now see the CustTable form under the Forms node. You can right-click on it and select Create Extension. In the Solution Explorer, we can see that the form extension has been added. Double-click on it to open it. On the screen, we can see the form extension opened in Visual Studio. On the left panel, there's the form structure showing elements like methods, events, data sources, and paths. On the right, we have the design area displaying the layout of the form, and below that is the live preview of how the form appears in the application. Now, we will expand data sources, then expand CustTable, and finally expand the fields. Here, we can see the new field that we just added. The next step is to decide where exactly we want to place it. In the live preview, we can click on any nearby location close to where we want to add the new field. I'll click on Type, which is just below Account in the General tab. In the Design area, you can see the respective control automatically gets selected. From here, we can see that it's under the identification group. So we'll right-click on that group, go to New and select Combo Box. You'll notice a new combo box control has been added to the form. Let's reorder it a bit. Right-click and choose Move First, and then again move down to adjust its position just where we want it to appear. Now it's time to tweak its properties. Click on the Name property and type a meaningful name, something like CustTable BIC Custia. Next, let's create a new label for it. So we will open the label file. Here we can create a new label ID, BIC Custia, with a suitable label and description. Then go back to the form extension. In the Properties pane, under Label, enter the label file name followed by the specific label ID. You can see that once we do that, our new label, Customer Tier, becomes visible in the live preview. Finally, in the Properties pane again, scroll down to the Data Source property and select CustTable from the dropdown. Then, under Data field, choose BIC Custia. With the development work complete, we'll now right-click on the project in the Solution Explorer and select Build. Let's wait for a few minutes. After some time, a message saying Build completed will appear. Now, because we've made changes at the table level, a simple build isn't enough. A build compiles the code and updates metadata, but it doesn't actually apply structural changes, like adding or modifying fields, to the physical database. That's why we need to synchronize the database, so the changes made in Visual Studio are reflected in the underlying SQL database tables. To verify this, let's open SQL Server Management Studio. In the Windows search bar, type SSMS and click to open it. The server name will come pre-populated, so you can simply click Connect. On the left panel, expand the databases node. Here, you'll find a database named AXDB. This is the main application database where all our Dynamics 365 finance and operations data and table structures are stored. Right-click on AXDB and select New Query. This opens a new query tab where we can run any SQL query we need. Now, I will paste a query and click the Execute button. This query simply fetches all column names from the CustTable by examining the information schema.columns view, which stores metadata about the database objects. In short, it lists all the columns currently available in the CustTable. As you can see right now, we cannot find the new field we just created. So, let's go back to Visual Studio. Right-click on the project again and this time select Synchronize with Database. This process takes a bit longer than the build, so we'll wait patiently. After a few minutes, you'll see a message confirming that database synchronization has completed. Now, let's return to SQL Server Management Studio and execute it again. And there it is. Our new field now appears in the list of columns. Finally, let's verify the same from the front end. Open the Finance and Operations app. Click the navigation menu on the left side, expand modules, then navigate to Accounts Receivable and under Customers, select All Customers. Let's pick any random customer, for example, US001. You can now see that the customer tier field has been added. By default, its value is set to none. However, we can choose any value, such as gold, silver, or platinum, and then click Save, and the value is saved successfully. And with that, we've successfully completed our customization. The new customer tier field is now visible and fully functional. Just to quickly recap, we extended the customer table, created a form extension, added our new field to the form, built the project, synchronized the database, and finally verified everything both in SQL Server Management Studio and on the front end. Thank you for staying till the end. We'll see you in the next session.